So let's get to the meat of mathematics, or algebra, I should say. And that meat is basically equations and how to solve them. So basically, most of the time, no matter which algebra class you will be taking, you will be solving equations. So you got to get this down pat, right? So let's just jump in with a little bit of a review. This is all the video is. It's not going in depth or anything, but recall that equations are two expressions that equal to each other. Since we have that equal sign, we can actually solve and figure out what variable will make those two sides equal. Now, recall that to solve, we actually are looking for all possible values of that variable. What are all the possible numbers that I can put in? Because sometimes it's more than just one or two. It could be infinite solutions, or it could be no solution or no real number, right? Don't worry, we'll be getting to real numbers later. Now, how to solve an equation. Now, this is just my general protocol of how I teach it. There are more than one way. There is more than just this way that will work. Do the way that you're most comfortable with, but in general, the first thing you always have to do is you have to simplify both sides. Make it so that they look a little nicer. You don't want to mess with all those parentheses and like terms. Just squish them down, make them look a little bit better. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to move one of the variables to the other side. And you're going to do this by using either addition or subtraction. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take those constants, move them on over to the other side using addition or subtraction as well. And then your final step is to divide or multiply by your coefficient. Generally, you usually divide. But let's go ahead and just walk through an example just to refresh your memory a little bit. Now, here is our equation. 6 times 3x minus 1 equals 8 minus 10x minus 14, all in parentheses. Got a lot going on here. But what's step 1? Let's simplify this bad boy. I don't want all that junk going on there. We need to make that a little bit easier. So we're going to start on the left-hand side, which is everything to the left of your equal sign. And notice that it's parentheses. How do we get rid of parentheses? Well, we learned that earlier. We go ahead and we use the distributive property. So 6 times 3x gives me 18x. 6 times 1 is minus 6. Great, we've simplified that side. Now let's simplify the right-hand side. Well, at first it doesn't look like there's a number in front of our parentheses, but it's hiding. Who's our invisible friend? It's a 1, right? And in fact, it's a -1 that wants to come say hi and join us for dinner. So make sure if you have a negative in front of your parentheses, you better distribute that guy to everything. So that 8's not included because he's not being multiplied, okay? So -1 times 10x, -10x. Negative times a negative is a positive. That's probably the biggest mistake I'm going to see is that negative. So be very careful. Okay. Now we're not done. We're done simplifying the left-hand side, but what about that right-hand side? We can still bring some like terms together. So 8 and 14 can be combined to be 22. And that -10x still stays over there. Now, personally, I like to move my variables to the other side, but of course you can do this either way, as long as you're moving the constants to one side, variables to the other. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't like negatives, so let's add 10x to the other side. Some people can do this in their head, so you can do that as well, not a problem. Generally, I discourage doing more than one step because you can get confused. It happens to me sometimes too, especially when I'm tired. So we have 28x equals 28. So I moved my variables to one side, moved my constants to the other, the ones without the variable. And then I say, oh, I've got a coefficient of 28. I need to get that x by itself. Divide both sides by 28. I've got a nice x equals, not 0, but 1. Now, how do I make sure I did this right? How am I going to go, I feel 100% confident in my answer? Hopefully you say, oh, Alicia, I would always check my answer. I know. Usually I'm pretty bad about checking my answer as well. So let's go ahead and just plug it back in, make sure. So I'm just taking my answer, plugging it back in, make sure I did it right, so then I'm not redoing this whole entire video because I did not do it correctly. Fingers crossed. Okay, so it's 6 times 3 times 1 is 3 minus 1 is 2. So that's going to give me 12. Hopefully the other side is 12 as well. I'm sure you've done this when you were working on a quiz or something. 10 minus 14 is going to be a minus 4. Negative and a negative make a positive. So 12 equals 12. Yay, I did it correctly. I don't have to redo my video. Yay, star. Okay, so make sure you do check. It takes about a minute, and you know for sure you got it correctly, and you're not going to get points up on your homework. So make sure you double check and work on solving those equations.